grids we learned about it, right? How do we work with them, right? Thank you very much. So next, after understanding about, thank you. After understanding about how do we work with the responsive designs, right? Thank you all for your wishes. Thank you. Thank you very much for your wishes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Right. Let's continue. Huh? Right. Right. So yesterday we designed about working with columns and all, multi-column layouts, how to design with them, fluid grids. Next important, we will see working with responsive designs, means responsive layouts, right? How do we create them actually? So yeah. So how do we deal with responsive actually? Responsive designs. So responsive design. You can say that it is a responsive layout actually. Yeah. Technically, responsive design, how we can manage that here is, so we can see how we can handle, right? Right. So how we can manage this responsive design? One simple example, we will see that initially in the design, right? In the design, we are configuring three important points actually. Responsive design is nothing but it is a technique of creating flexible sites. So that means so that our site can fit onto different devices, and it could adapt different screen resolutions. So actually, flexible layout is already there before responsive design. So in order to overcome that, so some more new features are added, right? That means actually the word responsive means is nothing but, right? This is creating a design that could adapt to different screen resolutions, So we can design for different screen resolutions. And it requires a lot of things actually. That means our website our website can fit onto any device. So that is what actually the concept of responsive design. In this, lot of things are there. In this, lot of concept is there. So one by one, we will see how to handle it actually. Means you can configure responsive design by using three techniques actually. By using three techniques. So one is so by using fluid grids, designing the fluid grids, and designing fluid images, right? Setting it to width and all, and by using media query. So what are those? I will tell you. We will discuss about that. That means by using fluid grids, so by using fluid images, and by using media queries, we can handle this. So we will see how we can configure and design. Actually, in the modern CSS, modern CSS, the default responsive components are in modern CSS. The default responsive components are, we have multiple column layout. By default, it is responsive. We have a flex box. Flex box is a one. Another, we have grid. Grid is also responsive. So by default, these have the mechanism. These have the mechanism of responsive. So what is the intention of Flexbox? How this Flexbox works and how the grid works? Already we saw display flex, display grid. All these are basic things, right? We already saw that. We will create some other examples also in the next level, how we can manage that technically, right? Generally, we will see how we can create all these. That means how we can manage the fluid grids, media queries, and all, right? Already fluid grids, to work with the fluid grids and design the fluid grids, already we know about it. I showed you display as grid and how much size it need to display. Those examples we learned. So that effects we already created and we know that, all right? So technically, we already used those options. Some more things we have to see here to arrange, that we will create one and we will see that, right? Technically, how we can create the concept of responsive design. The main intention of responsive design is, on any device, it should look same. It should work similar, right? In that first one is actually how we can create fluid grids. That I given one example to you by using display as grid and grid columns that comes under that category. Another one is fluid images. Fluid images, that means image should also able to fit the contents correctly onto the contents correctly. So then how we can define the fluid images? Usually it is also known to us already. We know that fluid images can be defined usually so by using percentage and all. That means if you can set the percent, it can fit into it. Only one extra option is here, media query. Means grids already you saw. Examples I will give you later. Another example we will build. Fluid images also we know. So fluid images, actually they are done by using fluid grids, means they are done by using display as grid, display grid. And fluid images means usually they are done by using so percentage, that means 100%. So max width. So all these are used for that. I will show you in separate examples. We will design that. One simple complete example, we will do that. And you have the media queries. Media queries are also important for configuring. And these media queries also we will see. But in order to understand about the media queries, working with those media queries, so some basics we will see. Let's go into that, right? So responsive design can be achieved by using these three options. Then what is the concept of media query? Because others we already discussed how to use it. Let's see. So we are going to discuss an important topic which is asked regularly in interviews, right? So how to use media query. Actually, the intention I told you, CSS media queries are used to make our page suitable for different browsers and devices and fit our content onto them. But only the media query will not do everything. So there are other options also we need to take care, right? We will see how to use. So the options how we can manage. Actually, first point is media queries, how we can configure, and media types, media expressions, how you write it, right? Usually the media query intention is, first definition I will just give you. So it allows a developer to apply CSS only when the and the browser and device uh, environment matches the given media query, or you can say that, or the rule you specify. That's important. That's what actually the concept here. I will show you this point. That means the concept is nothing but a media query is responsible for designing the CSS in such a way that CSS will be applied, different CSS will be applied depending on different browser environments. That's good. That means it can apply different CSS, different effects for different types of environment. That is what actually the concept of media queries. Media queries. Depending on the situation, you can observe that regularly in several websites actually. Several websites. Suppose you opened some websites. Usually different websites you can see that. Suppose what happened, I opened some website like you have so many like some Amazon. Okay. Now usually this is an appearance given to us. And you can see, suppose I'm restoring this window. I'm restoring this window and resizing the restoring the window, restore the window. Some contents will fit into it. Some contents will fit into it. Some contents will change the appearance. For example, you can observe that in various options, like suppose I say get bootstrapper. Now, some websites are there. You see here, this is Bootstrap website, official website. In this, there is a navigation bar, home, document, examples, icons, image, themes, and all. I will restore the window and I am changing the width here. And you can see that their alignments will change automatically. You can see the alignments change automatically. That means that the header wraps into center alignment. Actually, it was in the left hand justify alignment. When I am adjusting the width, when it reaches certain width, then it will change into this. It will change into this. This is what media query. That means actually the alignment was justified. So it is justifying the space between them. Two groups are there. It is justifying the space between them. Space between them. But when I start to reduce the browser width, then automatically it will come into this. And sometimes when it comes into center alignment, sometimes it can usually add some different logos, different colors, different icons also. Suppose you are using on a tab, when it goes on to tab, it will get a different one. It will get a different one. So when you are watching on a screen, it will be different. When you're watching on a laptop screen, it is different. When it goes on to tab, that means appearance will be changing, but functionality will remain same. Functionality will remain same. That is what actually intention of media query is. So that means it allows a developer to apply CSS only when the browser or device environment matches the given media query or the rule you specify. That is actually can configure. That means how we usually use the media. So generally the basic syntax for configuring the media is written like this: @media, and we define media type, and we configure a media feature rule. We define a media feature rule. And here we will define the effects CSS rules. We configured the CSS rules here. So we configured the CSS rules here. Here, we configured the CSS rules here. That's what generally we do. So @media is used to configure the media, right? Actually, this consists of three parts. This consists of three things. So it consists of three parts. So a media type, usually media type, so which tells the browser what kind of media this code is for. What kind of media that code is for. Example, it can be for print media, it can be or screen. That means Media type indicates at the net media is there. Media type indicates, is it for screen or is it for printing? For printing, then it will show a different appearance. For screen, it will show a different appearance. Usually, sometimes we need that because you designed online some ticket. When he is watching the ticket on the screen, he will see in a different way. When he's printing it, some more additional things will be printed, like header, footers, pages, page numbers, and all. Some appearance difference should change when it is going to the print. That we can define. Another option is we have a media expression, actually, which is a rule or test that must that must be passed to apply the effects, that must be passed to define the CSS effects, define the CSS effect. So that is another point. We need a media type and we need a media expression, and we need a set of CSS rules, so that will be applied if the test passes. We need that, and the media type is correct, right? That is what actually correct. That is what actually the point is. That means here we have three options. One is media type, another one is media expression, and the set of rules. And what are the basic media types available? That means what are the basic media types available? What are the basic media types available? Actually, the media types, we have 4 important media. We can define all. So we can define print. So this is, we can define print, and we can define screen, and we can define speech. Generally, speech is used for narration. When you are using for narration, it can define that also. That means on-screen reading narration options are there. You can mention for that. Right? We will see how we can configure and how we can define. Configure and define. So let's create one simple example to understand different options and configure different options. So how we can manage and define the media feature rules and configure them. For example, usually, so the media queries, how we write for the contents. So let's go into this. Suppose we have this page with the background color, some effects and all. So let's create a simple one. So let's create a new one, media demo .html. Okay, so here we are designing doc type HTML head. Yeah. So in that we will keep a style, and let's add a title as a media demo. Okay. In the body section, so we are configuring some heading. So body section is having some heading. So suppose Amazon shopping. Okay, and here we have another div. So some electronics. So here we define, electronics. So that is in a span or somewhere we will put, So this just simple option we defined. So footwear and some fashion like this. Fine. Now usually, so when we design this and we can configure this here. So I will run this here. That means in the browser, that is the basic appearance it is having. So this is the basic appearance it is having. Actually, its original size is this 100%. This is the original size actually for that. Now, important is how you configure and define the media. A simple example actually. So generally, so media type, so how we define is in the style. I am configuring in the style I am defining at the net. So we use media, and media, if it is for print, then that is the type you have to configure as per the syntax. So we have to define the media type, media and media type. And we can define the media feature rule. Feature rule we will tell later. We will see that also. That is the media type. Media type is print. So if it is print, then what should happen? If it is print, then a set of effects like body, so font face, font family will be Arial. Font family will be Arial. Okay. Now, another point is text align. Text align will be centered. Okay, that is what actually I defined for the print media. Now, I am applying this and I am refreshing this. So you can see there is no effect here. Those are not affected anything here. I can even say font size is suppose some 30 points, 30 pixels. Okay. And you can see nothing is there. Nothing is there. No change in this. So because the media is targeting these effects for print media, that means now see here, I will go to file menu and I will select print option for printing this page. When I select the print option, you can see in the print, its appearance changed now. I hope everyone understood, right? Have you observed the difference? Huh? Right, that means when it goes to print, then it will go with, when you go to print, right, then it will go with, in the print it will go that, right, it will use that. In print it will use a different font size, a different alignment. But in on-screen presentation it will be normal. It will be normal. That means we can target our rules for different environments, right? So suppose, so you can write multiple media queries. I have written only one, right? You are writing a media. So for screen. When you are writing media for screen, then the body and its effects can be different. And its effects can be different. That means font family not defined. Text align is some left. And this is left. And this is some 16 pixels. Okay, yeah. And suppose we have some like border, so 2 pixel solid like this. Now here the presentation will be in this way, and when I go to the printing, and in the printing it will not have that, it can have different. That means you can change according to the media, according to the target. Now, many times people ask, what is speech, sir? Speech means, on-screen narrators are there in your operating system. Screen narration, accessibility of Windows, you will find screen narrator. Am I right? Right. Screen narrator can read your screen present on-screen contents. Right. So those screen in speech, when it is reading, you can define in a different way. You can define in a different way. So such things you will understand in very later stage, all right, how we can define for a speech like content. We can use little bit JavaScript queries also for that. Initially, this is one point. If I say all, media all, that means everywhere it will be same. It will be same. But this is a basic thing. First thing is how you define the media type. How you define the media type and how to use the media types, right? This is an example. In this, we just saw how we can use a print or on-screen options, how to configure them, right? Then in your media options, you saw that is the media type. And you can tell the media feature rule. Actually, the media feature rule contains so many things. So that means it contains media feature rules. Media feature rules can contain so many things. Actually, it comprises of, so it is very important to know that after you specify the media type, you can target a media feature with a rule. So the media feature rules include options like, it includes option like width and height. It includes options like orientation. So it includes option like use of pointing devices like mouse hovers and all like that. And also logic in media queries. We can even write some logics also in media queries. Like we can use AND logic, we can use OR logic also in the media queries. Like you can also use NOT logic in the media queries. So that is important, how we can define and design, right? So that is the basic option, how we can manage that. Let's see, we will see one simple point to understand these options also. That means how we can define the media feature rules, how we can configure the media feature rules. So usually we can define the media feature rules and we can configure that. So let's see how we can manage, right? Technically, how you write the media feature rule, syntax you saw. After the media type, you have to use AND. And in the parenthesis, we have to define the media feature rule. We have to configure the media rules. Let's see how we can do that. Actually, so the basic rule, how we can configure is, suppose in this example only, I will make some changes, right? What happens here is, now suppose I am defining the font size, that means HTML. HTML font size is 1 EM, okay. So base font size, right? Now here I am writing on the screen, I have to target @media. So media for screen we are writing, screen we are writing. So what should happen is for screen end, we have to define the media feature rule here in the parenthesis. What is the rule? Is width. If width is so 600 pixels, something like this, I defined. Width is 600 pixels. So width is 600 pixels. Then here I am defining. So body, the body, and the body, I set some background color. Background color I defined as some yellow. That is the background color, yellow. Width is 600 pixels, background color is yellow. That is what the option we defined. Initially just simple one I given. Now here what happens is when we run this, you can see here, this is the design. Now this is restoring, and see the screen resolution. I am moving it. I am moving the screen at correct 600. It will be yellow. Correct 600. It will be yellow. So this is little bit difficult to handle, right? So difficult to handle. So because exactly 600, because if you miss little bit adjusted here, then it will lose that one. Exactly when it reaches 600, it will be right. So maximum it is not doing correct 600 pixels, and less than 600 also not there, not there. Generally, so if you define as min width is 600 pixels, min width is 600 pixels. That means the minimum width is 600 pixels. That means up to 600 pixels, minimum 600 pixels, it will be yellow color. Once it is less than 600 pixels, then it will lose its color. It will lose its color. That means it will not have that color. That is min width. That means min width 600 pixels. So that means, so here we will see some points. That means how we can define width and height. So how we can configure. So width and height. To define width and height, you need to know some basic points that width and height are attributes that define the exact width and height of content. So that means example, that is 600 pixel means exactly at 600 pixels. That is what actually the option is. Generally, we can define so the width, like, so we can use the options like min width. So min width, we can use min width, and max width. What is the intention of min width and max width is, right, it defines. That means here we configured as min width. So actually min width is nothing but min width specifies the effect up to the given size, up to the given size, and max width, usually max width specifies the effect from the given size. Suppose you say 600 pixels, That means from max to 600 pixels. If I say max width, so 600 pixels, then this is from min to 600 pixels. Min to 600 pixels. That's how we need to configure. So from max to 600 pixels, from maximum to 600 pixels, means from maximum to 600 pixels, it will be this, right? That means if I define as max width now, max width 600 pixels, then you can see it is yellow color. That means minimum to 600. From minimum means from 0 to 600. And when it goes more than 600, then it will not have the color. That is the point actually. That is the point. I just given a color. That is what the websites were doing. You can observe that. Bootstrap website, when you saw that. So that means when it reaches, so maximum 600 pixels. So that means, so or minimum 600 pixels. So text align to centered. Centered. That means what happens here now? It is centered. Now when you are adjusting the width, then it goes to left. Up to 600, then it will be centered. Then it will be left. You can change its appearance. You can change different, I given just background color. You can set different background images. Different contents you can keep. That you will see in one example, we will design that, right? So that means, will you give width and height or max width and height? That is very important. Because if you give width and height, then exactly it should reach that point. That is the reason you should know about how to define max width and max height, how we can configure the max height and max height. Right. So that is one important option. That is the width and height. Based on the width and height, you can manage that. Right. We can configure the width and height here. So let's see the width and height. This is the example for that. So this is an example for that width and height in the media query. So we have to define the media screen max width. And you can give multiple conditions also. I told you, we will see that also. Multiple conditions means and or not. So we can give a combination here, right? We can define that. That means if it is between 600 to 800, it should have one color. From below 600 another, above 800 another. Like that you can write multiple conditions also actually. So initially, this is width and height. How do we manage? Okay. Next important is here, how we can manage the orientation. Orientation. So orientation is another part along with width and height. Orientation is another important one. Actually, orientation, so the feature, orientation is allowed for devices that can change the orientation that can change the orientation dynamically. So usually it have portrait and landscape modes. Portrait and landscape modes. For example, how we can configure that? Actually, this is media, we defined screen. And here orientation, usually what we mention is depending on orientation. For example, suppose I change this screen and max width and all, just I will keep an orientation. Here, if orientation, I am writing an orientation. So that means a query. So that is orientation. Orientation is landscape. So if orientation is landscape, then yellow color will come. Or simply orientation is like portrait, then it will come with another color. Initially, I'm giving landscape, so that means orientation is landscape. Okay, that's we have to write those effects. Now, if it is landscape, it is center. So we can use two options, portrait and landscape, like orientations we can define here. So now when currently this page is in landscape mode, that means my device is in landscape, my laptop is in landscape mode. I will change my laptop, because if you are using mobiles or laptop that support orientation, I will change my laptop orientation to so portrait. Now its effect is changed. You can see that. I'm using a portrait orientation for I'm using a portrait orientation for my laptop now. So you can see on portrait orientation, the alignment will be left, and on portrait orientation, it will be like your device should support that, right? And I go into landscape, and on landscape, its color is changing now. Color is changing now, right? It is changing the effect. It is changing the effect based on orientation also. Orientation also. So have you observed that, designer? Everyone, have you observed that? When you change the orientation, it will have a different effect. Have you seen that? Right? So that means when you change the orientation, it will have a different effect. So on portrait, because generally when you are watching on mobile, you can change it to portrait and orientation. Then based on that, the contents also should be arranged. We will design some proper examples later. But this is what actually first you need to know, right? So that is generally. So how we can define the media query for orientations, landscape or portrait orientations. So remember, this is supported actually. So this is supported. It is supported. Usually, it is supported only for devices that can change orientation. Otherwise, you cannot see that. Rotating your laptop will not change it, right? So your laptop should support that mode, tablet mode, and all this you need to support, then you can handle it, right? That is example for that, right? So this is an example. So it should support that. So that is an example, right? So testing in the debugger anywhere you can do now. So that is testing in debugger anywhere you can try. I showed practically changing the orientation. In the debugger, you can test it and show. That is general thing. Already I showed you in so many times that you can do, right? So, but I just showed you by changing the direction actually. Means, is it just here or is it anywhere else? That means here you change this orientation, rotate. It will be in this way. It is portrait, it is landscape. It is having two different effects. You can test here. There is a rotate option, right? You can test it there. Generally, we can manage there also, right? So that is an example, right? How do we manage that, right? So this is an example for orientation, how you can define the orientation and configure the orientation. So for the media query, right? Next important after the orientation, another option we have is the pointing devices. So use of pointing devices. That means this is actually depending on availability of hover of an element on your pointing devices like touch screens and keyboard navigation. Actually, touch screens only they can support that. So hover like options, you can support that. So you can test the availability of hover or not. You can test it, hover an element. So there might be some kind of pointing devices. There might be some pointing devices. That means you can change effect of any element or content in page. So when any device is used and it is hover, it is hover. Hover means it is over that particular device. So touch and keyboard navigation does not hover actually. That means touch screens and keyboard navigation does not hover. You should know that touch and keyboard navigation does not hover. It will not hover. Actually, for that we need so pointing devices do not hover. We need some pointing devices, right? If we are using pointing devices, then we can handle this. So we can handle this. Actually, this is also same. So when the pointing device goes on and you can put a different color and effect for that and alignment for that. Usually suppose that browsers also should support that functionality. This we cannot test until or unless we have some pointing devices like a digital pen, right? So we can try that. Here we can define this option like, so you have an option like hover, right? Hover is using an option hover, right? That's how we configure. So if media is hover, then it can handle that. Actually, individually for every element also we can define it. Individually for every element also we can define it. But this is on hover, we can affect the, define the effect. So on hover, it will affect. This you cannot test until or unless you have some pointing devices in use. Touch pointing devices like digital pens and all you need for understanding this. And actually don't confuse with another hover. Generally hover also is there in several options for us, right? So hover is also there for several options, like you have some heading. So then we have a heading have an hover. So that means heading have an option like hover. The heading is hover. We can apply some color. Suppose say color say red like that. That means usually what happens is when mouse pointer is over that one, then it will be red color. When mouse pointer is over, that will be in red color. When it is outside, then it will be normal on hover. In the same way, the entire page can have that type of appearance when we are using some pointing devices, actually. But that is not supported on every browsers and every devices. That depends on the browser and devices. So that is the basic option. Now, that is not media actually. This is not media. Media have an hover option also. But that hover option will not work everywhere, right? So that is for rare type of devices which supports the digital marking on the screens, we can handle that. Generally, how do we write at the net media and we configure hover. And if it is hover, then some effect, some background color is some yellow, something like this we can define. Right. So how we can configure some effects and define the effects. This is background color yellow for which one? Body. For body background color yellow, like this we can configure. This is just an example, but this we cannot try on every devices. Try on every devices. Right. That is over. Now we have some more complex media queries, means combinations. How we can use combination of media queries. That means multiple queries how to write and create a simple design. We will also see how we can create a simple design for mobile layout. So mobile type of environment layout. We will see how do we work with mobile type of layout. You know, surface like devices. You know, surface device, right? Surface and tabs, galaxy tabs and all, right? You know, surface device. Yeah, for such devices, right? So it is not only that, browser also will not support. Browser also should support pointing devices. Browser, some browsers, many browsers will not support pointing device. Only few browsers support pointing device. Like you can directly move your pointing device on the browser and mark any content in the browser itself. We will see how we can design some content so to fit onto like mobile like devices, how we can create. We will see one sample design for creating like mobile like environment and keeping the content responsive. One simple example we will see. So these are all the basic queries. First you need to understand how to use the combination of queries, that we will see with some examples that we will continue in the next session, right? So Monday, we will continue with that. So Monday, we will finish responsive design. Then we can go into backgrounds, borders, shading, text effects, other effects. Those are very fast and simple to handle. We can easily understand. If I give one, others you can try by yourself one, right? So these are very important. That's the reason we have to take time in understanding and designing them, right? So Monday, we will continue with other effects. Okay, right.